What's up, y'all? We are back at the Glass Mansion for our concrete placement number 3. And it seems like you guys are really taking to this project. It is a very stellar one. We have a long road ahead of us. We have about a 2-year build schedule. You know we're gonna be updating all along the way, but in this video, I'm gonna go through some details of our third placement, and then also I'm gonna go over lots of questions that you guys have on the YouTube and that some people hit me up on Instagram for, and we're gonna get into it. Let's jump into the video. So bright and early, we got the boom pump on site. Y'all, if you're wanting to do bigger work, you just need to start investing in more equipment. I mean, you saw in our earlier videos, we were using line pumps a lot. It was saving money, but then when you look into it, a lot of these types of placements, they have trouble. When you're going up slopes and down elevations and you have long lines, they start getting clogged. When you use this boom pump, man, everything just goes much faster. It is a little more expensive for the whole rig, but I will say just invest in it in the front end, and then you're just gonna move through everything much more smoothly. Once you start getting into projects over the $3, $5, $7, $10 million mark, all of these projects just get more complex, and right here is a perfect example of that. We have our third placement of concrete, and it's like not that much has really happened, right? Most jobs, you just do one concrete placement and you're done. But due to the complexity of the slope of the lot, the height of our walls, what is going on top of these foundations, you have to build things up in stages. You can't just go in there and pour everything, right? So in this placement, we are doing these grid lines. They're hash marks kind of in the foundation. They're called grade beams. They're nice, big, thick areas, and they stitch the concrete together. So they're like holding those walls together because they join the walls and they pull everything in tight. But also there are these thick areas for heavy things to be on top of, right? So we have to have all of our walls need to be dry and hardened before we can get all these grade beams in. So today's placement is about 40 yards of concrete. That's about 4 trucks. And you know, in the scale of what we're doing, this is a very small day. This is just something that should go with no problems. We should just knock out and move on to the next stage. Now, this site is so tough. It's over 1.5 acres, but it's heavily wooded, it's heavily sloped. We have to build our way from the back moving forward, because what's gonna happen is, after we get all of this area placed, and then when we get the house foundation, we're gonna have like 0 access behind this area. So we're doing it from back to front. And then we're having to bring in over 2,000 yards. Each yard is a ton. That's 2,000 tons of fill on this site because of how sloped it is. So the house is gonna be kind of at grade in the front, but then when it comes to back here, the slope just drops down dramatically. So we're gonna have 18-foot sections of house foundation and the pool foundation out of the ground. Some other complications. We have septic tanks that need to go behind this area. So we're gonna have to bring in a crane later and crane our tanks over these structures. And we're gonna have to build up the pool, and we're gonna build up these different lounge decks. There's gonna be a lot of different fill in between. And then we have this mechanical yard, which is kind of just a hollow room underneath the foundation where all of our pumps are gonna go. This is on septic. So we need septic, we're gonna need water filtration. We have fire sprinklers, so we're gonna use pumps for our fire sprinklers, and it's all on a well. So we're gonna have to get the well rig in and dig the well. This site is just so complicated, and this is just the very, very tip of the iceberg. Let's take a second to talk about our longtime sponsors, Ends Energy Pouches. Today, I am highlighting the wintergreen flavor. So I'm looking at you, dip users. I know y'all love your wintergreen. You're stuck on nicotine. Here is how you break the habit. This is packed with nootropics, so it's gonna keep your mind going, it's gonna keep you alert, but the flavor and the ritual of putting that in your lip is very similar to dip, and I have heard it works well from some of the guys out in the field. Go on over to nzepouches.com, put in promo code JGB, get your 15% off, give it a try, and quit the junk. All right, y'all, so it's like not every day is gonna be the most exciting, like craziest thing that we're doing, and those days can be really good. We obviously got in here, the guys knocked it out. They're really just kind of pouring mud in a hole. I mean, it's really not that dramatic, but when you know what you're doing, you can make things that simple. I think if we were like much earlier in my career, you know, like when I was only doing renovations, if this would have been like my first concrete placement, it would have been really scary, right? But when you do things so many times, it kind of just becomes habit, and it's honestly awesome to see things like in this video that are just everyday kind of normal things, a quick little 40-yard pour, right? So as always, the guys are going to place the concrete kind of around the perimeters and fill up that bottom section first. Let things set up a little bit before they start placing on top of that. You can't just fill everything up. You can have kind of spill outs, you can have leakage. We want all of this to be nice and compact so they come back through with the vibrator around all those sections and they kind of fill all those beams up together. All right, guys, so to just add a little bit to this video, because it is more of just a simple placement, I love answering y'all's questions. I don't know if you can tell, but I try to go through and answer as many comments as I can. I get on there when I have some free time. I love interacting with y'all. I love the curiosity. So I want to do these ever so often to just get some questions that I get in from the YouTube and my socials and just different people.
All right, so first question is, how do you actually land multi-million-dollar construction projects?
Man, that is such a loaded question. It is one of those things where the chicken or the egg, right? Like, what comes first? You can't just go in and do a multi-million-dollar job if you haven't done one before. But how do you get one if you haven't done one before, right? It's like, it really is an oxymoron. You start small and you get a little bigger and a little bigger and a little bigger. You don't just go out and do something massive, because it's going to go wrong and it's going to crush you. Unless you have like a mentor, or you have a very experienced partner, or you have subcontractors that are like super dialed in and they're help guiding you, right? I started off in kitchens and bathrooms and I kicked their ass, and it took forever. Like, I remember it probably took 2 years to get my first job that was like $100,000. Most of my jobs were between $10,000 and $50,000 for, like, you know, maybe the first couple years, right? And then you get that job and it's like, oh my God, this is incredible, you know, and you're clawing for every inch. Then it was like, you know, a $500,000 job, and that was just nuts. I was like, this is it, this is crazy. And then that will start breeding bigger and bigger work. And then I remember I got my first job over $1 million. That changed the game for me. Crazy learning curve. It was a massive renovation of, you know, a down to the studs renovation. We kept like one wall, but we added a bunch of different foundations. It was almost like a new build. And honestly, now a job like that would probably be $3 or $4 million for us. But when you're earlier in your career, your prices have to be better. And then when I did that house, I killed it. It came out so damn good, and that breeded 3 or 4 more jobs over $1 million. And then after that wave, the ball really started rolling. And that's where you see all of your hard work really pay off, right? So I started Revent in like 2016, so it's about 10 years now. So you gotta think about this in a long-term situation. It's not gonna happen overnight.
Another question here is, what was the biggest mistake you made on a job site when you were coming up?
Well, man, let me say, there are mistakes aplenty. I think it is really an essential part of the process to make mistakes. Some of my biggest mistakes are taking on things that I really didn't have to. I would take on projects with like shitty clients that I can tell were just like looking at me more of a butler than like a partner. But when you need that work and you need that money, it's hard to be selective. When you have someone that is really difficult, you need to tell them no. You need to hold your boundaries, and that cost me so much money multiple different times.
Starting off as a contractor, which trade was the hardest for you to wrap your mind around?
Oh my gosh, man, that's a tough question. Because here's how I explain construction to people. A lot of people think I need to be an expert in everything before I can start. How can you be an expert in something before you've ever started, right? The way that I describe building a home to people is, we might have 50 plus different trades. I'm talking about completely different industries like welders, painters, concrete, stucco, X, Y, Z, right? Each one of those trades is a different language. You don't have to be fluent in every single language that's on the site, right? What you do need, what is essential, especially if you don't understand something, you need a translator in that language. And the worse you are at that language, the better your translator needs to be able to speak your language, right? You need like a liaison, you need like a point person. So like my plumber, for instance, he's a master plumber. I am relying on him to give me the information I need to make the right calls, right? And there is a lot of like, you need to look at this stuff in detail. You need to ask all the questions for yourself. You don't need to know everything. You need to be like, I know a lot. I'm pretty well-rounded. I know more than most. For me, it was just being on site every single day and asking so many questions, like almost being annoying. I would just tell the guys like, hey man, like let me buy you lunch. I'm gonna hang out and I just wanna learn everything I can. And that was so valuable for me. And I will honestly say, if like I didn't go to school for this, so every single trade was new to me. I have a really good design mind. I'm really good with people. I have a really high drive, but this is completely Greek. I had a mentor who was a big property manager. He wasn't like huge in construction, but he had a lot of different contractor like connections for all the rehabs that they do and all the different units and stuff like that. So having a mentor is huge. That's how you're gonna learn. I remember, to move my first load bearing wall, and I was just so scared because there's so much liability. You have to get a structural engineer. Like, I don't really know what I'm talking about to ask the engineer the right questions. My framers helped me through that, right? But that was really scary. And when you make mistakes, it can really screw you. But the thing is, this stuff is really much more simple than we all make it. It's not as hard as it seems. But I would say for me, the big time like structural trades, like framing, heavy framing, structural steel, concrete, these are all things with high liability. They have to be done by specialists. They have to be done by people that know what they're doing. There's big, heavy machinery involved. Like you can't just, go in like you would with drywall, carry it in by hand, just mud it on the wall. Drywall is an art rather than like a massive endeavor. So for me, it was the bigger, heavier structural trades. And again, it's like a chicken before the egg. How are you gonna do big time structural work if you've never done it before? So it starts with moving one small wall and then you get the concept and you're like, oh man, they really just like supported the area on either side of the wall, pulled the wall out and then put the new wall in. And you're like, oh my God, like maybe that wasn't as complex as I'm making it. All right, y'all, man, I love doing those questions. Honestly, I want to carve out more time for that. I love interacting with you guys. You guys are from all over the world. There's a lot of different construction techniques used in different places. I'm always down for a dialogue. Ask your questions. Give me those comments, and I will sprinkle in more of these questions into a lot of our videos because I really love doing it. Okay, so to wrap up placement 3 over at the Glass Mansion, everything went by without any problems. It was a pretty simple day in the scheme of things, but man, we have so much coming up across the whole company, but especially on this project. So y'all are gonna wanna stay tuned. As always, I appreciate every single one of y'all, and I'll see you in the next one.